Whenever we see a surge in the price of Bitcoin, I get a lot of queries from people asking how they can invest. The problem is that people are lured by the prospect of high returns rather than actually understanding what it is they are investing in. A sure way of telling that you're about to make an investment mistake is when you are being spurred on by a strong fear of missing out. This is according to Imran Lorgat, who is an actuary and has invested in Bitcoin over the last 5 years. So we've invited him to give us some advice about what to consider before deciding whether or not to invest in Bitcoin. Welcome, Imran. Let's just start off by briefly explaining to people what it is they're buying when they buy Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is a bit confusing because it's actually a new technology. So I like to think of it as two things. The first thing is that it's a currency. So like you have the rand, you have the dollar, you have the euro. Bitcoin is also a currency with some important differences. One of the main differences is that the rand is issued by the South African Reserve Bank and backed by the South African government. Bitcoin is not backed by any government. It is issued, controlled, and managed by its users. And it's completely independent of any country. And these users manage it through software, and it is purely digital. So Bitcoin is actually a system of software. You can download it, you can run it on your PC. And just like email allows you to send text communication to and from anyone, anywhere in the world, the Bitcoin software will allow you to send Bitcoin to and from anyone, anywhere in the world. So that's a very important part of it as well that you have to understand, is that you are investing in the currency as well as the software ecosystem that is built around the currency.
I think one of the challenges for Bitcoin is this massive volatility. So you can, in one day, of course, make a lot of money, but you can also lose a huge amount of money. So doesn't this make it a very, very high-risk investment? What
I generally, think about when I think about the volatility is that you have these two major cycles in Bitcoin. You've got the long-term cycles and you've got the short-term cycles. Bitcoin's been around for 12 years now. I think of the long-term cycle as 4 years. And in these cycles, you have what drives the price is supply and demand. So Bitcoin's supply is fixed. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins in existence. And the demand is driven by, are people using the technology? Are people investing it? Is the software developing? Are there businesses and applications being built around the software? As all of that adoption increases over time, if the adoption increases and continues to increase, then you would expect the price to go up. But this only happens over the very long term. In the short term, what you have is you have hype, you have greed, you have mania, you have fear. And this is what leads to these short-term, bubbles, and the bubble pops.
The other concern I have around Bitcoin are the scams. So what is the safest way to actually invest in Bitcoin?
It's good to know a little bit about the history of the space, because that will sort of inoculate you against fancy marketing and rhetoric. So Bitcoin was launched 12 years ago, and in those 12 years, it has become immensely successful. And that success has led to a lot of copycats, a lot of imitators, a lot of people saying, hey, we can get you rich quick. Today, you have 8,000 plus cryptocurrencies. If you don't understand Bitcoin, you're not going to understand those, and then you should be very careful. So the logical place to start is if you can understand Bitcoin and get your head around that and what it is and how it works, a lot of the other ones will automatically make sense to you. And then when they come and spin you with these marketing things like, you missed Bitcoin, here's the next Bitcoin, you'll know it's not true. Bitcoin's already been invented. So if somebody actually wants to start investing in Bitcoin, what would be the best approach? How should they start? You need to ask yourself, why are you investing in Bitcoin? If your answer is, okay, I'm investing because I want to get rich quick, I've got some bad news for you. You're not going to do it this way. It's not a good idea. However, if you're investing in it because you see a long-term future for the technology, you think this technology is going to be used, it's going to be adopted, it's going to be a long-term store of value, then if that's the case, then you need to actually be looking at what time horizon you're considering. So definitely also ask yourself those questions. Why are you getting involved? What is your motivation? And that should also help you make better decisions.
Well, Imran, thank you so much for giving us that very valuable insight into investing in Bitcoin. And remember, the same rules apply to any investment. This is a high-risk, long-term investment. Ask yourself whether you can afford to lose that money and whether you can hold on to it for the long term.